back to another week. I know that I'm a little bit late posting this. I wanted to finish a book and I got a little bit distracted and it got out of hand. I have 5 books this week. Yeah, like I said, I've been reading a lot. So, the first book is Hacking Harvard. It's by Wasserman. And it's a book about these 3 guys who perform things called hacks. They're not pranks because hacks have a point, and they're not for recognition. They're to prove a societal point or something like that. And they want their hack this time is to get a kind of slacker kid into Harvard, one of the most prestigious universities, and they live in Cambridge, so they're already right there. And they go through this whole thing of padding his resume and helping him ace the SATs, and it was actually a really interesting book. I think I didn't enjoy it quite as much as I thought I would because I was expecting it to be more like The Perfect Score, which is a movie that I absolutely adore. But it was a good book. There were a couple of twists and turns to keep you going, and the characters were likable, and I think it just a little bit more humor, and it would have been absolutely great. I did enjoy it. I did like reading about it. I totally read to the end, and I do not regret having spent my time on this like some books I've spent time on. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Vampire Diaries. So, Hacking Harvard by Wasserman. It's a good book. You should check it out. Especially if you're going through the process of getting into college, or you've done the whole getting into college thing, because everyone knows that it's a trip and it's hard, and it's really interesting to see that process again. The next book is Lavender by Jude. This is actually the first in one of her new series. It's the Adeline Harcourt series. And this is a fantastic book. It really, really is. I got to the end and I was gasping and laughing and crying from happiness, and my emotions were freaking out. I didn't know what was happening. And it's so good. It's about this girl, and she's been friends with this old woman, Adeline Harcourt, for years, since she was a child, and the woman dies, and she leaves the girl a manor in Adeline, Virginia. Well, the town is named after the old woman, and the girl goes and lives there, just a small town, just outside Williamsburg, and everyone's like, what are you going to do with the house? What are you going to do with the town? How are you going to influence us? Because she's like the heiress of this, pretty much the town, because Adeline Harcourt's family used to own this town. They were the ones who settled it. And so and there's 2 guys. There's one who Adeline said, you know what, this is the guy I have picked out for you. You go, you meet him, you'll fall in love with him, and I will be right, you'll be happy. And then there's this other guy who is all wrong for her. She knows that he is not the kind of guy that she should be dating, and she's drawn to him. And so it's really, it's such a fun book. And great thing about this is it's a romance novel, an adult romance novel, but it doesn't have sex in it. It's more about the courting and wooing and romantic relationship between them and getting to know each other and building that, and it's so good. And you have Adeline's story wrapped into it, which is great. I love stories within stories. It's marvelous. So, Lavender by Jude. If you like romance, you will love this book. Next book is one of my all-time favorite books. It's actually, I'm so excited because in a week, the sequel is coming out. The sequel to this book is coming out, and I'm super, super excited for it. I already have it on pre-order. It's 13 Little Envelopes by Maureen. And if you've ever read Maureen, I mentioned her with Sweet Scarlet and Scarlet Fever. She's a quirky writer. She's kind of hard to place except for the fact that she writes young adult, which for some people it's young adult. It's fine. They can all place that together. Have you ever tried to look at all the genres of young adult? There are a lot of them. You can't just say this is a young adult book, so you will like it because you like young adults. That's like saying you will like this book because it is part of fiction, and you like fiction. There are lots of genres of fiction. So, anyway, 13 Little Envelopes is about this girl, Ginny, whose aunt has died of a brain tumor, and she leaves her 13 blue envelopes and says, there are tasks in here that you must complete before you open each consecutive envelope. And it takes her on this trip, like all over Europe, which is really, really cool. And she's not allowed to use guidebooks or maps or any electronic communication. And it's such a good book. There's a little bit of romance, there's a lot of humor, and Ginny is not the self-assured traveler type. She is more the type like, oh god, I'm in the middle of London and I know absolutely no one. What do I do? So it's a great book. I enjoy it every time I read it, and I think I've read it like 8 times. No, many times. I've read it a lot since I bought it. You can tell because the spine is kind of, well, it doesn't look worn, but that's a lot more than some of my books get to look like. So, 13 Little Blue Envelopes by Maureen Johnson. It's awesome. You should go and read her. The next book is Geektastic. It's a anthology that's edited by Holly Black and Cecil Castellucci. Yeah. And it is a book filled with stories for anyone who has ever been geeky or nerdy or loved things to the point of people edging away from you and going, I have no idea what you're talking about, but I'm going to stand over here now. And there are so many good authors that you've heard of. Lavender, Cassandra Clare, John Green. John Green is awesome. Kelly Link, Cynthia Litch-Smith, Scott Westerfield. There's so many good authors in here, and the stories are fantastic. And I mentioned this anthology actually on my other YouTube channel, which I accidentally deleted because I got rid of the Google account it was linked to because I was stupid. But this was my best anthology for 2011. It may be my best anthology for 2012 as well, because it's such a good anthology. So if you were ever nerdy or geeky about anything, you don't even have to be a nerd. There's books, there's stuff in here for people who aren't nerds per se, but just maybe they're a Trekkie. Maybe they're like, hey, I enjoy Star Trek. I should read this. It's good. You should read it. Even if you aren't a nerd, you should read this. Geektastic. And the last book is probably one of my new favorite books. I just finished it last night, and it was awesome. And it's Prom and Prejudice by Elizabeth Eulberg. And it, as you know, the title kind of alludes, it is the story of Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, but it's set in private schools, and there's prom, and it's so good. And you don't have to know anything about Pride and Prejudice to enjoy this book. It's a good book all on its own. And she does a little bit of tweaking to the story so that it fits better in modern day and what she's doing with it. But people who have read Pride and Prejudice will see all of the allusions, like, I know that character, I know how that character plays in. Ooh, I remember this scene in the original book, and it's so cool to see what she does with it. Yes, I am a little bit of a Pride and Prejudice nerd. Shh, don't tell anyone. So, Prom and Prejudice, it's by Elizabeth Eulberg, and this is actually an advanced reader copy, so it might only be in hardback right now, but that's what libraries are for. So if you can't afford to go and buy a hardback, because I can't afford to go and buy a hardback, are you insane? Those things are like 17 bucks. Go to your library and borrow it, and you will enjoy it so much. So those are all of the books that I have this week. I will try to get the next video up actually on Friday. I also am part of this new collaboration channel called Nerdtastica, so you should also go and look that up. There is a link in the description below. Thanks for watching, and happy reading!